In 2004, when I was advisory board chairman, the Kroc Award, Joan Kroc's award to the board, the Salvation Army, was announced, $1.5 billion.
And we kind of thought, well, this is a nice project. We took it to our advisory board at the time and laid out all the ground rules that was given to us. And our advisory board members said, sounds like something Camden needs. You know, coming into Camden and hearing about it being the worst city, in America for crime, we knew that it really needed it. But, people looked at it like, oh, well, you can't make it, you can't do it. But we really believed we could. And anyway, we said, if the Lord wants it, then it will come, it will happen.
2005, Majors Edmund and I went to territorial headquarters, West Nyack, and listened to the proposal from the territory. And we left early because we figured out that we couldn't participate. We didn't have the resources or the ability to do all the things that would be required in the limited time frame. Just couldn't see our way to that. And the advisory board listened to us, and we regretfully concluded in a meeting of the advisory board that we would not be able to go forward on this. Very disappointed that, given the Camden situation. And I left the meeting and I thought, well, maybe there's one more thing I should try here, one last thing I should try. And that was to call a friend of mine in Haddonfield, and he was an important person in Camden in his role with Lockheed Martin. He had a big job there, and that was Mike Camardo. And he basically effectively assigned two people to us immediately from his staff.
So it was first class, and all the pieces that were there, now it was our turn to make it happen. There were 29 proposals that my husband read, 29 that I read, and a group that was a committee that came together to read all these proposals of where the Kroc centers would be in the Eastern Territory. So that's how I knew about Kroc at that point. But we read each and every proposal, and when we came to the end of that daunting project, there was a committee, and at the end of the day, when we came together as that committee, Camden was the #1 chosen proposal. So at that point, I didn't know anything about the fact that my husband and I would be the divisional leaders in New Jersey the next year. So that's how we knew about Camden.
We had 10 different Kroc centers going up at the same time, and the challenge was that people really wanted the Kroc center to be someplace else in another city, and they were acting as if, well, it won't function, it won't happen in Camden, so it could be put someplace else, and we could support it. But the whole idea of the Kroc Center was, it'd be self-supporting, not having DHQ or THQ support it. So the roadblocks came from people who just thought, had very little creativity, very little vision for what could happen. So, I just feel that, if you have no vision, then nothing will happen.
And there wasn't much more desperate than Camden. The neighborhood itself had no grocery stores, only little bodegas, and there was crime on every corner. There were needles in the parks where the kids played, and it was exactly what Joan Kroc had in mind, that we would go and build a center to provide arts and music and education training, recreation training for the desperate that couldn't afford the higher class rec centers.
I was so happy, but we didn't have a site. So when they completed the application, I remember Joe Naughty, and who brought it to our attention that we were the #1 in the country with that application. It's like, wow, that's great. There were other sites, other neighborhoods throughout the city. I remember reaching out to Randy Primus, and I said, what about Kramer Hill? He says, well, we're in Kramer Hill. I says, well, we have about 85, 88 acres of the Harrison landfill. I'm like, I know that's going to cost millions. Well, but it can be done. Luckily, Randy Promise, who had a relationship with the governor, he was able to convince the governor to get the New Jersey DEP.
Our big challenge was, how do we build a beautiful Kroc Community Center on the former city dump of Camden, the Harrison Avenue landfill? So there was intense work that started about February 2006, and we needed to report to territorial headquarters in a little over 6 months, by September 30th, that we could build the Kroc Center safely on this former city dump, the Harrison Avenue landfill. And we worked tirelessly for over 6 months, nights, days, and weekends, to investigate the entire 86-acre landfill. That would be about 65 NFL football fields in size.
Well, I can say when we first were told by the state that they were going to give us this land to have the Kroc Center on, they were donating the land. And we came over and we looked at it, and I thought, what is this? This place is a dump. That's what I thought. And, it was just ruined. He had trash bags and he had, tires. And I thought, wow, this is going to really be something to try to clean up. I think, after it started to clean it up, and after we won the bid for the Kroc, and we came back and we looked at it again, then we looked at it from a different view of, someday this is going to be something people never expected in Camden.
And then you will see all the truckloads, trucks, hundreds of trucks a day, taking out the bad soil and then bringing in new soil, into the 88 acres of the Harrison landfill. That Harrison landfill from 1952 to 1971. One can just imagine, all the debris and chemical under the 88 Harrison landfill. And so we were, a little bit scared, I guess, that at the end of the day, they might say, it can't work here. A lot of people had their doubts. We couldn't see that light at the end of the tunnel. However, there was faith.
As you see every time you walk in this building, with God, all things are possible. And the scripture base for that is where we found ourselves, understanding and knowing that it was not us. We were merely the vehicle that the Army and the Lord had chosen to be the face of this project. To drive by that abandoned landfill and to see these trees that were huge and that had grown up all these years, I thought, God has got to move a mountain here.
We were following up on the work that Majors William and Victoria Edmonds did in the preparation. And we were charged with raising money, doing the final design, and getting the building built.
And when they sent us to Camden, the confidence that they had placed in Paul and I was humbling, to say the least. But yet we knew that we had an opportunity that was never going to come our way again, once in a lifetime opportunity to pioneer something that would change not just the landscape of Harrison Avenue, but would change the lives of the people in this city.
And one of our common early themes was, well, we're going to redeem the land to redeem lives. And so we figured that if God could use a landfill to build a Kroc Center on, well, he could change just about anybody.
At the time, Philadelphia said, who needs Camden to have a Kroc Center? They are within our wheel. We don't need a Kroc Center in Camden. They just can come over the bridge. Okay, so there was a big political stuff going on there. And also, we were vying against other municipalities in the state of New Jersey. So it wasn't just a slam dunk. And the design process, because it was really a year long before it was submitted, my company was ablaze. I mean, I was writing to Mike Camardo every day. Design was going on every day. Concepts were being revitalized every day. And because we had the input of so many people, but it had to work, and it had to work quickly. And it did, but it took 7 years of my life between the time that we thought of the concept until the time that construction started, because of the remediation that had to take place.
So there were a lot of natural obstacles on this project. First of all, the funding for it. We had to find, as it was with all of the Kroc centers, the gift from Joan Kroc was just meant to get it started and rally community support. And so we had a $10 million campaign. No entity had raised that much in those days. And so we actually put our campaign together. And the first obstacle jumped at us. We started the campaign, had our groundbreaking the day all the banks failed in the end of 2008. And it was like, now what do we do? Well, we trudged on.
The capital campaign was interesting. It was successful, but it was long coming. So it was not easy to try to raise $10 million in Camden for a few reasons. One, the Salvation Army had been doing great, amazing work in Camden since 1880, but its profile was fairly small. To make it work, in addition to the advisory board, they formed a capital campaign committee and a whole separate group of volunteers who would really create more stakeholder relationships, talk about the power of the project, what the Salvation Army was doing, and what had happened in other Kroc communities. The other piece, of course, is that Philadelphia has a Kroc Center and had a wildly successful capital campaign. So we were coming both after them with a little less stature in Camden in terms of our community relations. And on top of it, we really couldn't go to Philadelphia. That's somebody else's market. So a few big challenges to get over to the finish line.
We were able to, at the very end, to get that last bit of funding through the New Market Tax Grant program. So all of those things that seemed as obstacles ended up being just great blessings because God had a way to overcome them. Even with the funding of the center, when the recession hit in 2008 and so many people weren't able to donate, the corporations stepped up, led by Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and Campbell Soup. They were the ones who stepped forward right when we needed them to, and along with other companies like Subaru, American Water, they were the ones who really enabled the project to get moving.
I remember when we were at a meeting when the American Water Company was giving a large donation. And the reason they were giving a large donation is because they wanted to make sure that the community children and men and women had opportunity to learn to swim. And there was a couple of testimonials from kids who said they did not know how to swim, and they could state opportunity when they could have helped someone learn to swim, but they didn't know how. So they felt that this was going to be great for them. So it's going to be something where they could be just like everybody else.
But the summer before it opened, about 3 times a week, we would go right out on Harrison Avenue with a grill and hand out hot dogs, free hot dogs, as people were going by. And they would stop and we would just tell them stories. Hey, see the building that's being built? Well, it's going to open in October. We'll need you there. And so it was just this big crescendo of things that were coming to opening day.
People were a little leery about who we all were and what we were doing there. Kroc Center wasn't built, but we were bringing our vision to the park across the street and saying, soon, someday over there is going to be a building that will serve your needs and your family's needs and the community's needs. And people looked at us a little, we had some skeptics for sure. How could it possibly be? This has been a landfill forever. How does that go away? How does something bigger, better appear in its place? I saw their desire to understand and want to be part of it, but were a little suspicious or leery about it really happening.
I remember the first time I drove down Harrison Avenue, and I saw all the lights on. I saw the lights that were in the towers, and it literally was this beacon that sat on the side of the road, the development of what God had brought and was bringing light into this neighborhood and into this city, and to realize that we all put our hands in this, but it wasn't us, it was God. It was what God brought to this city. He is the beacon of hope.
1 week before opening day, nobody was here. I was walking around, and 2 boys who live across the street came and knocked on the front door. And you could see them peering in the window. And so I went out and I said, hey boys, how you doing? They said, what's going to be in here? And I said, a lot of cool things. So we had a gymnasium and a theater and a chapel and a swimming pool and a water park. They go, you mean like our swimming pool? And he pointed over his shoulder, and they lived right across the street. And here's one of these above ground, beaten up swimming pools, one side caved in. And they go, like that? And I said, no, not like that. So I ushered them in, took them over to the window by the water park, and they peered inside, and both of them looked at each other and went, whoa! And to me, that I knew then that it was going to be a success. And I said, so next Saturday, you'll come in and we're going to kick this off. And he said, can we go to that? And I said, we build it for you. And so as we come to that weekend, that opening weekend, that was the kind of excitement that was happening in the community. Now, the ribbon cutting was unlike any other ribbon cutting I had ever been a part of. Typically, when you'd have a ribbon cutting, you would have about a 6-foot ribbon, and you'd put all the dignitaries up front and stand them by the door, and they have these fancy scissors, and they would cut it, and all the people would be across from them, and they would cheer. Well, we had the idea that while that's nice, we wanted the community to do the ribbon cutting. We got about a 150-foot ribbon and stretched it across the front of the building. And yes, there were a few dignitaries over by the door, but everybody stood on the other side, and they were the ones who had the scissors. And as we counted down, there were about 100 scissors, and all the community people got to cut the ribbon and then just keep walking right into the center. So it was rather unique kind of way to do it, but to me it symbolized that the Kroc Center was made for the people, and the people cut the ribbon and then they came in.
And they're all filing in, and it's the whole community together, and there's just this energy and this buzz. I mean, if you've ever been to a ribbon cutting, it's just a cool thing to be a part of. So especially as someone who's worked here for so long, just that feeling of like, man, we did it. And then we're all coming into the chapel, and the whole room is huge. So like the classrooms opened up, there's 400 seats in here, and every seat is filled. So the service starts, and we get keys to the city, which is pretty cool, and the building, which I thought was really funny to do at that ceremony with everybody. And I just remember having this feeling of just like kind of togetherness. And it was just a lovely feeling. Just like everybody was here to celebrate this huge accomplishment for the community. I mean, this building doesn't exist anywhere else like this in Camden, so that's just amazing. And that all of these people are coming here to celebrate us to celebrate them, to welcome us into their home, because obviously the Salvation Army was at a different part of the city. It was a really wonderful feeling.
And I've always said it's a Kroc Center. That's what the appointment is. It's a Kroc Center. It's something that you cannot explain to people until you've come here. It's got a little bit of everything that the Army has, to be honest with you. Social services, we've got core community center. We work with children, we have the core people. At this Kroc Center, the way it was established from the start was it's all one. It's all one thing. And it's all one ministry. You can't compartmentalize, and you just can't describe it unless you've been there.
Our greatest accomplishment here at the Kroc Center is our size, 130,000 square feet of what I consider hope. I come from a similar neighborhood in New York City, in Brooklyn, New York. We didn't have much. And I say all the time, imagine if I had the opportunity to come in and learn how to swim, or be in an after-school program where I just had access to all of these amenities, and the people, and the love. You just get that sense anytime you're here at the center. Well, in my previous Salvation Army appointments, I had a standing desk because I got so little exercise that I needed that standing desk so that I can so that I wouldn't be sitting so often. Week 1 of being here at the Kroc Center, I think I did over 10,000 steps and knew I wouldn't need that standing desk anymore. In fact, I needed to be able to sit once I got back to my desk. So if anyone needs a standing desk, I have it still upstairs for donation.
I had the opportunity to write a letter for a member of the Kroc Center. He had been a staff member here. He had really changed his life around. Previously, before coming back to Camden, he had been incarcerated.
I got away from the Salvation Army, but I stayed put on Hatton Avenue and continued to coming back when I got in my 20s. So I started looking at the drug deal, was this one over here, gangs and stuff like that. I didn't mess around with gangs, you know, I didn't do drugs, but I got caught up in the money part of it. And from that, I ended up doing 10 years for something that was really crazy. And when I came a part of the Salvation Army, all I could do was repent for what I had done wrong. And the way God showed me, I used to have dreams. He showed me the Salvation Army on Hatton Avenue. He told me to continue. Go do work for them. When I come in the morning, I open up in the morning, I ward out all the spirits up in the fitness center. I turn on the gospel, I pray, I worship, and when the seniors come in, they enjoyed it. When security come in, they enjoy it. You know, this is what it's about, you know. God provides.
When you fast forward to 2024, the impact of what the Kroc has done in becoming an anchor institution of Kramer Hill and in Camden, the neighborhood has radically changed, where you have people own their own homes in Kramer Hill. You go up the street next to the Camden Kroc Center and you find resurgence of small businesses are beginning to open and thrive. Major companies have reopened factories. They've invested with brand new charter schools, all within the sphere of influence of the Camden Kroc Center. And you rewind the clock and you look backward and you say, this neighborhood would not be where it is today unless there was a Camden Kroc Center. So the impact that it's had on the city, the population, it's monumental.
We're grounded in our roots, the fact that we believe in ministry and mission. You could have another fitness center come into town with phenomenal facility, but they wouldn't have the same approach that the Salvation Army has had to be a part of the community, to really want to see the community grow and improve. And so for us, it's just being who we are and letting people know that we are open for everyone, all age groups, all ethnicities, all diversities, just that we're here to serve the community. And it's been tremendous to see the changes, even driving in today, to see the changes in the community with the park nearby, the housing across the street, the field that actually looks nice across the street. The transformation is continuing in Camden, and for that, I'm incredibly excited.
We got a brand new school, not too far from here. Abilene Village finally is coming down, you know, and then they're gonna rebuild a new Abilene Village housing for our residents, and we have seen also the growth of housing development for our seniors, and even for those that lived at Abilene Village, now moved into these new homes here in the Kramer Hill section. So, and above all, 45 acres of the Kramer Hill waterfront park. It is huge.
With the impact that we've had in this Cramer Hill, we now see transformation. And we look across the street, there were some rundown apartments, did whole renovation. It's called the Harrison. It is a senior living facility. And that was, I think, I want to think that Salvation Army made an impact in the community and made this, raised up not only the property value, but also the value in living in this area and being a community member in Cramer Hill.
We have a lot of different touch points of how we change a life. We can change a life when you walk through our food pantry and you just need a meal or you need rental assistance through that day. We can change a life to where you have a newfound love of basketball and sports and you're finding that community. So to be able to have a building where 2 million people can walk through our doors and find something that can help them, that can aid them, that can just give them a laugh for, even if it's just 1 minute, that they can come through these doors, forget what's going on in their outside world, and come in to have fun, come in to eat, and come in here to love those around them.
I have to say that Christmas was one of the highlights of my year at the Camden Kroc Center. We adopted 100 families, and that's the entire family, so that, calculated to about 800 individuals, and so many agencies, so many individuals and we're not talking Barbie dolls. There was one family that actually adopted a little boy. Their family needed a bed for their little boy, and they purchased a bed. They purchased refrigerators. They purchased bicycles. They really went all out to bless pots, sets of sheets. I almost wish every person could have experienced Distribution Day. There was one time where the mother arrived for her gifts. They had a scheduled time, and we built in enough time to really pray with the family as well. We wanted them to know a gift is a gift. In a year's time, that toy might be broken, but what God has to give you is timeless. And we wanted to be sure to ask, is there anything we can pray for in your life? And this mom just really shared her heart, and so much trials, so much difficulty, so much sickness. And we were able to pray with her. And then the volunteers began to wheel out the gifts. We had mobilized wagons that they used, and we made 2 trips, and the mom was so overwhelmed. And then the volunteer said, actually, we've got 2 more wagons. And she looked at us and she literally fell to the ground. We had to hold her up, and she was weeping. And we all just came around her and we just wept together. I remember we were struggling to close the door because there were so many gifts, and it was beyond what she expected. It was beyond what she anticipated was even possible. And she was describing to us, how did you know? How did you know that I needed that? How did you know? I said, we didn't know. The donor just wanted to bless your family. They know that there's a terminal illness in your family right now. We just wanted to bless you. She said, this might be our last Christmas together. I don't know how to thank you. And so those type of moments of just overwhelming, extravagant gratitude, we don't always get that, right? And we know not even Jesus had that. Out of 10 lepers, 1 came back to say thank you. We're not doing it for the thanks or the appreciation. But boy, when you have that expressed, it just gives you renewed joy that, this is why we do what we do. It's not about the gifts, and it's not about what we have to offer. It's what God has to offer. And just being able to pray that over people it's priceless.
I call it the toy shop experience, where a family gets to come in and they're partnered with a volunteer who takes them through the toy shop, guides them through, helps them choose toys for their children, and then we bring them over to our gift wrapping station, where we have prayer warriors who are ready to wrap the families in love. It is my favorite part of those days we spend with the families. I can look over at the it's a hallway. I look over at the hallway where the prayer warriors are praying with the families, and I will always see tears. I will see like joy and smiles. And there's just a different feeling down that hallway when the prayer warriors are there and just engaging with the families, really, really getting into their lives. And it's just the best. It's just the best part of the experience.
When I was growing up, my mom went to the Salvation Army during the holidays when, being a sibling of 7, we were in need of some food, we were in need of some toys. And I can recall having walked over to the Salvation Army feeling happy because I was leaving there with something, a toy, a food item, and we were not going to go hungry that night, and we were going to have a good Christmas, which is what every kid expects. A kid doesn't know, you don't know. So leaving a place with something in their hand or her hand it's the glue. You can't have an entity. You can't have Camden without the Kroc Center. You can't have Camden without the Salvation Army. It's here, it's not going anywhere, and it's only going to get better.
When we look at all the, like you said, hundreds of people and thousands of hours of volunteer time that comes through here, we consider it as a blessing. It's possible because there are people out there and out in our communities in this world that want to walk the life like Jesus did. The word says that he came not to be ministered to, but to minister. So you have people that want to serve. They want to share God's grace and goodness by being interviewed, by being background checked, by going through trainings and orientation. We can't do that. There's the Salvation Army motto that says, Salvation Army volunteers are the army behind the army. And within Kroc Centers, we need a lot of people from that army to help us to do what we do, whether we work serving in the food pantry, in the gym with sports coaches, helping in the offices. Somebody needs to put in all those data entry hours, all those volunteers. So within the Kroc Center, I think we're kind of magnitude and what we have to provide and the services that we have to provide. We can't do that if you're at a smaller establishment, because bigger doesn't always mean better, but with bigger we can expand more in terms of capacity, and we can always be better together, and that's been proven with our volunteer here from all backgrounds, genders, diversity of people coming in our doors, cultural backgrounds, and I think that makes those that you serve more comfortable because you can be relatable. When we're talking about meeting the need can vary from person to person, from county to county, from household to household.
One of the great things that I see that makes the Kroc Center unique amongst any Salvation Army ministry is the access to resource that we have. We have access to a gym, a water park. We have access to backyard where we have a soccer field, a baseball field. Not only that resource, but we have resource with the partners that we have. All these nonprofits that gather around us to help us out. And a wonderful local government. The city of Camden has been welcoming and actually participates and helps us out. They have this initiative that Camden County Police does. It's an open gym, and they go to different nonprofit agencies and they hold an open gym there to do their policy, which is unity community policing. But they also hold it here. It's one of the great blessings that we've got to experience just working with not only local government, but also partner agencies.
Because of our relationship with the police department, President Obama had this community policing program that he was doing across the country, and Camden was one of the best. And so I wanted to come and just say congratulations. Said to the police chief, I'd like to have a news conference. Where can we do that? And he said, we'll do it at the Kroc Center. It was incredible. And we had to leave the building for an hour before so that they can be sure it was secure and all of those kinds of things. And then we came back and we had a front row seat, and he came right over to us and thanked us and shook our hand.
I think back at the community partnerships that we made with Cooper University Health when in the early days when the first vaccines were starting to get rolled out. Camden was a vaccination desert, if you will. Delivering the medicine, the vaccine in Camden was a particular challenge with credibility with the health network, finding the access points where people can get to the places, get to clinics. And with our partnership with Cooper, we were one of the first Salvation Armies in the nation to open up a COVID vaccine clinic. I think through the course of the years that when we offered the clinic, we had more than 15,000 people come and get their COVID vaccine at the Camden Kroc. So it was that kind of just timely occasion of just stepping up and serving the community, just getting into the trenches and helping our healthcare network do their good work. It's something we're incredibly proud of.
In 2009, we launched our Office of Civic Engagement at Rutgers University Camden, where we started to rethink our relationship between the university and the city. How can we be a better partner, better collaborator to residents, key stakeholders, and nonprofits in the region? And so as the Kroc Center opened, it was one of the places to be in the Kramer Hill neighborhood that we really wanted to build out partnerships. And again, because of the breadth and depth of opportunities here, of services provided to community, of just a physical place where we could gather, we wanted to make sure the Kroc was going to be an excellent partner. And so in meeting with Majors Kane at the time, and now, our core partners are Ben and Dawn, any opportunity we can to bring our Rutgers community here, we make sure that the Kroc is our #1 signature partnership.
United States Cold Storage employees have played a large role in volunteering at some of the food pantries. And this type of volunteerism is very meaningful to United States Cold Storage employees because in essence, that's what we do. United States Cold Storage is part of the food supply chain. And so we help to feed America. So knowing that the Kroc Center is fulfilling its mission to help feed children and their families is particularly meaningful to us. The Kroc Centers serve as a beacon of hope because of the staff and volunteers that ensure the programs and services thrive. These programs and services are made up of people. It's the kind hearts of those people that make the Kroc Center a beacon of hope. Hope lies in humanity. Human kindness is the ultimate indicator of a better future. And that's what the Kroc Center promises and delivers.
Well, it's definitely important to me that we employ Camden residents, local residents in our Camden Kroc Center because they know the people, they know the needs, they can understand, and the people that come to work here are very special people. They have a heart for others. That's why they want to come in here and work here. And so you can tell that anytime you talk with anyone, from the fitness department to the pool to the front desk, everyone is here because they love people and they have a heart for them. And so it's important for me. It's one of the values that I have when we're looking for new people. It's the first thing that I look for if they're a Camden resident.
Oh my gosh. I remember I moved to Camden in my sophomore year in high school. So talking about opportunities meet potential. So I get a chance to see people from the community that I grew up with as a teenager, and they also serving here in various capacities. To know that when teens, and we've had a volunteer program, it was under the education program with Kroc Crew, that you can have young people that are learning the gift of time and service. Not only are they coming here to serve as a volunteer, but have opportunities where they also can get hired and use those career skills not only here as a volunteer, but when they go off to college and come back and they're able to be employed to work in our summer camp program or be a lifeguard. All these experiences that we have here just as a testimony to the vision of Joan Kroc, where opportunity meets potential here for us, but also a beacon of hope and agent of change, so they can also tell their families and tell their community and tell their jobs, look what's here in Camden, and they can come back and serve and be a testament of truly what reality was, and that was their offspring of hope. So that's been a blessing to see.
I remember just walking through the gym on my way out and talking to one of the lifeguards, and his name is Orlando. And listening to his story, he tells me that he was actually a member when he was a younger kid in one of our guarding programs. And he comes from a single-parent household. And his mom continued to bring him in and he grew. He went through the gardening programs, attended church, went to camp, went to school, got his lifeguard certification, and now he's employed here. And he is going to college, still an employee here. He's a wonderful example of actually giving hope and allowing people to come on in and be ministered to through the resources that we have.
As being a neighbor in Camden myself, without them, the person you see here today would have never been a possibility. I have learned skills that will help me in the future. I've learned how to serve and help with my community, and overall to be a great person. My mom was infinitely grateful for this place because raising a child alone is hard. It's very hard, let alone two. And having this community behind her and helping her just to get a little break so she can help be better for us, it was everything for her and everything for me, because I'm grateful for everything that my mom has sacrificed to make us happy, me and my siblings, to make us happy. And I really am really grateful for the Kroc Center for helping her grow to the better version that she never thought she could be.
As a mom, you want to make sure that not only your child is safe, but they get the opportunity to engage with a diverse set of people and experiences. And so coming here to the Kroc feels like home. She's taking swimming lessons here. My church also volunteers with the Kroc. And so we're here during Thanksgiving and Christmas, also engaging. So to know that she can be here from, kind of birth to adulthood, engaging in a variety of things that are going to fill up her soul. We're happy to be part of the community here, and I'm happy to have her kind of learn and grow alongside the friends and colleagues we've made here at the Kroc Center.
Growing up in the city of Camden in the mid-70s, having a family that was extremely poor, going down the street to the Salvation Army and going to the pantry and picking up food for your family. And then 30 plus years later, knowing that God put the Salvation Army in your life at that time when you needed it the most to help you survive. I knew that it was a gift from God that I am giving back because of what was given to me when I was young, when my family didn't have anything. And to know that all these years later, there are still people that are in dire need, and that this place, this sanctuary, provides a place for people to talk to God and to feel His presence. From the moment that you walk in through the door to the moment that you walk out with whatever service it is that you're seeking, whether it's just to come into the space and feel the presence of God, that means a lot.
I actually found out about the Kroc Center first and the other building. And it was just strange because I did not know anything about the Kroc Center. I didn't know nothing about Salvation Army, nothing at all. And that day I was actually selling chocolates for my sister's passion because she was having a passion show and she needed some type of money to get in that passion show. So I offered myself to sell chocolates. And that day I knocked on the door, on the gate. I saw a lot of people that was having a picnic, and I knocked the door and one of the majors opened. And the first thing I saw was like, wow, this is a lot of people in this building. So, I presented myself, told them what I was doing. I think it was in that house that all my chocolates was going. Yes, they just bought all the chocolates. And I also met more people, and that's when I realized this is where I want to be. It did change my life for the better, just because I was in a really, 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 really dark place. Like, I was always depressed about how I'm gonna help my family and how I'm gonna do it with my condition. And knowing that this place was built just for me to actually do that and help more than my family, that was just a soul that I couldn't say no. I just couldn't say no, just because I feel like I'm home. There's here. It's right here. I don't have to go that far. And it's, it's just home. That's how I just feel. It's just home.
For those, for example, like myself, I don't drive. So opportunity is that I can walk to the Camden Kroc Center. I can work out in the gym. My kids can come swim in the pool, and we don't have to drive half an hour or drive an hour, pay a lift. We can just come right around the corner to the Kroc Center at a reasonable price. My oldest daughter, when she comes out of school, she comes here to study. She finds it a safe space, and she also finds it quiet enough so that she could study. And then my little ones, they come here for after school program, which meshes right into summer camp, and they just love coming here year after year.
I never imagined how big this is going to be. They was talking about big and this and that, but to be part of that, it make me feel good. It make me feel like hope for Camden. This is a place that you can come here with no hope, and you find hope. You find that light that was missing in your life. The Salvation Army saved me, saved my kids. If I am who I am today, it's because of God's grace. And I found it in the Salvation Army.
But what does it mean to a family who lives 2 blocks from here? And I think what it means is you could have a kid who came here for play care when they were 6 months old, and they could join our after-school program and arts programs at 5 or 6. And they could do those programs and be part of the ministries that we offer in Sunday school till they're 13. And then they could play basketball, and they could become a counselor in training. And they could work here. And then they could, they would have lifelong friends among the staff, the volunteers, and the other members. And this could be their place. And they could do only a small fraction of it. They could live 5 miles from here and come here for 6 swim lessons that got them from someone who wasn't water safe to someone who was. And they could do all things in between. But the fact that people can come here and be better off, based on their choosing, based on their participation, based on the people they meet here, I think that's where this place is full of opportunity, and people who walk in the door are full of potential.
The Kroc Center is celebrating our 10-year anniversary, but I also want to throw the number 144 out there because that's how long we have been in the South Jersey, Philadelphia area. We have been almost as long as Salvation Army has been in existence. Now, where I see us in 10 years, the imagination is the limit, really. We have so many things that we can offer, but again, we want to be sensitive to the needs of the community. And so, in saying that, we want to continue doing our mainstay programs, which would be the swimming, which would be the fitness, which would be the childcare. But again, there's so many different things with new technologies that are opening up.
When I think about the next 10 years for the Camden Kroc Center, I'm filled with hope. I am filled with faith that the work is only going to persevere. It's only going to go upward and onward. That we're going to have a litany of stories of kids that have had their life profoundly shaped, that they've met amazing opportunities to grow into their adulthood, to emerge as a good citizen in Camden. But ultimately, I believe that the Camden Kroc Center is going to continue to be a beacon of Salvation Army mission and ministry. I've prided myself on the fact that there may be no other location in the Eastern Territory that has an opportunity for mission better than the Camden Kroc Center. No one can reach more people through social services. No other Salvation Army location has the opportunity to proclaim the gospel to as many people as the Camden Kroc Center.
Being here for the last 10 years and basically growing up in this place, I would like to say that it's been a wonderful experience. And I hope that every member that signs up here or is part of this community gets to experience what this building and this organization has to offer. The people, this building and the people that I've been here will always be a part of my heart. Happy 10th year.
I apologize, I didn't bring brownies today. Apparently they are well known here in Camden.